Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program 2, where we are currently doing absolutely nothing, and we need to figure out what our next mission is. So we're going to head on in here, and we could head to a Tylo monument. We could also go to the Moho, which I think is a very interesting thing to do, for sure. So let's actually work towards that. Let's head over to the VAB. And we need to design our lander for the Moho. Now, the lander that we currently have might be good enough, but I do definitely want to change it up a bit. It's a monstrosity, and we can definitely... existing vehicle? No, there's no existing vehicle here. Hang on, I hit the save button. We're going to load this. So I want to load the Duna lander. There we go. That'll make more sense. So this is going to be... This is going to take a moment to load, apparently. Okay. This is going to be not the design we're going for. We're going to ditch a fair amount of this. Certainly, these bits here are all going to go away. For now, we're going to redesign the launcher portion of this. So I want everything that is down below this decoupler to go away for sure. Do we want to make any changes to this? Yes. I'm going to get rid of that as well. So for now, we're going to have an adapter. So I want to have a Methylox adapter that brings us up like this. Okay. Then we're going to have a fuel tank here. This is going to be a much less janky system, I hope. And it'll end up being something kind of like this, with that being our interplanetary transfer stage, in theory. I'm not sure exactly how far that'll get us, but we definitely want to have our large vacuum-optimized engine. So I want to look at the vacuum-specific impulse. So this is 343. This is 385. This is interesting. This is the most efficient vacuum-optimized engine, then. So that would be our interplanetary transfer stage right there. So I want to bring this down here. I want to take a look at this stage. So that's 10 minutes of burn. This is 0 meters per second in vacuum. That definitely isn't correct. Okay. Well, this is actually claiming that this is 4798, and that's probably reasonably close. Now, I want to look here over Moho. 0.76. Okay, so these four engines, assuming it's fully fueled, would not actually lift us off over Moho. Okay, I'm going to, first things first, ditch the monoprop. We don't need this anymore. That can certainly go away. You can go away too. So the monoprop is going to cease to exist. The solar panels should be good enough. I'm just wondering here, this is after this decoupler, right? Yes. Yes, it is. Okay. So we're going to need to do a little bit of work here. I want to ditch these. I'm feeling right now like we should upscale these fuel tanks. So that is going to end up being something like this instead, and we'd do this in quad. This is going to be very heavy, and that is understood. So we would do something like this, and then we would use fuel adapters that would end up being something like this. And then that would go, is that large enough for a nose cone? Can we put a nose cone on there? Well, we could fuel adapt it even further down. Like that. And then we could nose cone that. That's going to be extraordinarily heavy, right? No doubt about that, extraordinarily heavy. And then we'd want to have these guys here. So then this would be thrust away to 4.67. That's much better. I don't know if that's enough fuel, but we'll see. So it would be something along the lines of this. Now, this guy here, this staging is messed up. Hang on. These go here. This stage goes away. 0.33 over Moho, yeah. We don't care about that, though. This is vacuum, so this is okay. So 610 meters per second in here. That's not a lot. I'm thinking about extending this stage to be something more like that. That's now 1,000 meters per second, with this being 5824 meters per second. That seems a lot more like it. That seems decent. So we want this to be over Moho, right? So this would be 5824. This would be 1,000 meters per second here. It's a pretty low thrust to weight, but that is acceptable, potentially. So now we're going to need to lift this thing and get it into Kerbal orbit, and ideally get it into a further orbit than that. So we'll see how that ends up going, but I do want to strut this together. So we're going to do struts from here down to here. And then I'm also going to strut it from here into, I guess here works. That seems reasonably fine. And then solar panels, I'm going to have an additional set of solar panels out here, which will also be absolutely fine. Okay, so that's okay. Now we need to figure out how we want to launch this thing. And that's going to be a heck of a question. I'm very concerned about weight here. So something like this, and then whatever our highest sea level thrust engine is. Mammoth 2 at 4,250 kilonewtons. That is extremely powerful. So this engine is down here. And what is that in Kerbal atmosphere? 0.38. That's an incredibly powerful engine, and that's 0.38. Noted. So I'm going to duplicate this, and we're going to make this be... I'd like it to be bicoupled, but I don't think we're going to get away with that. We'll see what it looks like. We're going to grab a medium radial decoupler. I'm going to put it about here in 2x symmetry. I really don't think this is going to be great. And we're going to put this like this for now. I just want to see what the thrust to weight here is. So that's 0.52. And that's 0.78. Now, we're probably going to want to have this mechanism on top of here. 0.75. That's not as bad as I thought it would be. So if we were to quad couple this, and that were to go about here or so, what does that end up looking like? That's 0.88. Okay, so these are not tremendously efficient in that regard. We would want to have fuel lines going in for sure. 100% we would want to have fuel lines going like this. So that would be a thing that we could do. Now, this is not all necessarily correct here. We just want to move this up to about here. Like that. Yeah. Something along the lines of this. This is definitely a much larger lander. What do we have for landing legs? Can our landing legs be actually fixed? That would be nice. I don't know if we're able to do that with this size, though. So ground, we've got the LT2s. I don't think this reaches. We could make it reach. Or we could just land on the engines again and not bring the weight. And that's probably what we're going to end up doing. I'm already very concerned about the weight of this thing. So there is that. So obviously we need to get a fair amount more thrust to weight here. We need to about double our thrust to weight. Now we could increase our number of side tanks. I don't love that solution. That starts to get back into that monstrosity territory. We're already looking at monstrosity territory here though, so that is maybe an acceptable option. For the time being, I'm going to put this out over here, and we would go for some SRBs. Clydesdales bring this up to what? That's 0.44. So we merge these together, and that ends up being... Well, we need to move this down. 1.16. Okay. The Clydesdales are a little on the small side. No doubt about that. What if instead we took this up to like 8x symmetry, which would be kind of insane, for sure. But what if we did? So we just took this over to 8x symmetry and put it in somewhere like here-ish. Are we clipping them together? We are. So we really can't afford to fit this into 8x symmetry. So we'll put it into 6x symmetry. And I need to head in here in order to grab our decoupler. There we go. And that would end up being out over here like this. Now, I don't think that this is going to do the trick for us as far as thrust to weight goes. Yeah, that would be 0.95. But if we were then to attach in some Clydesdales on the outside of this and monstrosity it up, that would be a theoretical possibility. So we would be able to put in Clydesdales out here. Of course, we don't have strutting in this, and that's going to need to happen. But if we were to put in Clydesdales about here, that would put us at... We'd need to move this like so. 1.25. So this would get off the ground. But it wouldn't be pretty. So let's move this guy on down a little bit and then grab this guy and move him on down a little bit. Okay, that's not exactly what I expected to move, but it'll do. So that seems fine for now. I want to go to aerodynamics. We have a medium nose cone. Right. So we can do this that we did before. So it would be just this guy. What? No. Don't put air intakes on that. It would be something like this, and then we would run a fuel line, which would end up being burned out very, very quickly. And that would end up just becoming a structural component. So something like that. Now, if we were to strut all of this, which we should absolutely do, we would go into structures and get a strut connector, connect this from here to about here. I don't really like where that connected. So to about here instead. Okay, and then grab our strut connector and do the same thing on the bottom here. From here to, I guess here would do. I don't want to duplicate that. I want to duplicate the strut. Thank you very much. And we're going to strut this guy in here and then down at the bottom. Just making sure it's nice and rigid. Then we can duplicate that, and we can bring in a second batch of SRBs right there. Something like this. Now, we could get a third, most likely, but I want to see what that puts our thrust to weight at. Come on. There you go. We'd want to merge all of these together, and then these would be separated. Yeah. Something along the lines of that. So that would put us at 1.42. So we're definitely in monstrosity territory here. So what I want to do is I want to grab this guy, and instead of attaching it there, I want to attach it more along the lines of here. Actually, here. We could think about getting a third one squeezed in there, I think. They're going to clip together a little bit, I feel like. I wonder if that's okay. I mean, if they destroy each other, then we don't have to worry about the detachment, right? I'm not convinced that this is going to be a good idea. So we would put that there like this. Oh, this is a terrible idea. Okay. I love it. It's so amazingly terrible. We're going to merge these together. We're going to bring this up over here. And we've got ourselves a nice monstrosity here. So this is now a thrust to weight of 1.54, which is still not phenomenal. But it'll do for now. Okay, I want to know what happens when these SRBs detach. They're unevenly altituded here, which is, you know, amazing, I'm sure. Whoa. Why was that drifting like that? I'm going to undo it, but I shouldn't. That's going to break our struts, isn't it? Oh no, our struts broke from the undo. Okay, right. I remember now. Don't use undo because it breaks all of the strutting. That's not what I wanted to grab, and I undid again. Okay. Oh boy, this is going badly. Let's restrut all of this. There you go. Come down this way, and struts are in here. Redo that. And then down on the bottom. This is going to be exciting. How are we going to find this? It's in... Oh, hang on. Hang on. Where are they? There's definitely struts down here. I really wish the struts didn't break on undo. That would be nice. Here's a strut. Okay. So that'll be connecting... Yeah, about like that. That looks good. Now what we need to do is the same thing out over here, and these are now elevated way higher than they should be. Apparently we can only move them up. We cannot move them down. And these can't be moved at all now. Perfect. This is exactly according to plan. Oh, now we can move them down. Okay, so somewhere around there should work. Now we need to redo the struts and make sure that those fuel lines are all connected. So the fuel lines do need to be redone, it seems. So we'll do a fuel line like this, and then this guy would need a fuel line. I don't see its fuel line here at all. That is a strut. Okay. I'm going to put in a new strut here, and I'm going to put in a new fuel line because I don't see a fuel line there. So something like that, and then a fuel line here. That should be all of the fuel lines in theory. This one did not get connected, apparently. Otherwise, that looks decent. Now, struts. Let's just make sure all of these are strutted together. Strut there. Strut there. Okay. In theory, that should be good enough. In theory. I'm also going to strut these together out over here. Strut, please. Thank you. And one more strut here. Something like that. Okay, let's put this out on the pad, and I'm going to save this as the Moho lander. It's definitely still a monstrosity, no doubt about that. I want to know what happens when we stage these SRBs. I have a feeling it's not going to be pretty. So let's put this out on the pad, and let's find out what this looks like. Our thrust to weight is not amazing at this point, but I'm very curious. Okay. There's definitely a lot of wiggling going on. Whoa, these are just, like, falling off. Why is everything detaching? Okay, so that's definitely not anticipated. I'm not sure what all is blowing up right now. It seems to be virtually everything. Everything is just kind of falling off. Fascinating. This is kind of amazing. I'm just watching in awe right now. So why was everything detaching? I'm wondering if we were overpowered. Well, no, because these aren't detaching. Okay, well, let's revert that back to the VAB and see if we can figure out why it just fell apart the moment we put it on the pad. That should not be the case, but some of these attachments might not be as attached as we would like. We can do some additional strut work, and that would be okay. That takes a hot minute to revert, apparently. Okay, so I want to check in on these struts. So we have struts at the top and struts at the bottom. And I guess we could add in some additional struts this way to give ourselves some additional strength there. That's not what I wanted at all. I'm not going to undo it. I'm going to place it here. Okay. So now I want to grab this strut and move this in like this. Okay. So that's some struts there. And we'll do the same up at the top. Cool. Now, the question is, does that solve that problem? We can strut these guys together. Whoa. Yeah, this is quad symmetry. Hang on. Get rid of that. All of those struts now exist, and we can't do anything about it. But what we can do is we can go to 6x symmetry and do this. And then we'd have to get rid of every single one of these struts, which is, you know, mildly obnoxious. No doubt about that. Okay. So there's a lot of these. I'm not going to be too concerned about them. They're not a huge amount of weight, as I completely messed that up. That's exciting. Okay. These are some of those VAB problems that I'm not a huge fan of. This workflow definitely needs to be improved. No doubt about that. Let's put this in. I did not undo it. Note that I did not undo it. And that was very deliberate. I want to make sure that we have fuel lines going in here. I'm not 100% certain that we do right now. So fuel lines going something like that, although that's not a great angle for it. I want to move them down to be like over here. Okay. So let's try putting... Our struts, or rather our vehicle boosters down here aren't fantastic. I'm going to detach this one. And I'm going to move it over here, if I can. I'm not sure about the height on it. The height needs to be more like here-ish. Hard to tell at this angle. That buys us a little bit of space. Now, this guy would want to move over. If I can grab just the decoupler. Hello, decoupler. No, I cannot grab the decoupler. Hang on. There's a spot there where I could. The problem here is that this has been moved inward from the decoupler. Oh, hang on. I don't want to rotate that. Okay, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go back into this part. I'm going to grab this. Delete it. Did not intend to grab this. Oh, boy. What's going on here? I'm not sure what we've got going on. Okay, I see what we did. We'll reattach that. Perfect. Now, what I want to do is I want to remove another one of these decouplers. There we go. Oh, hang on. This attachment point is spicy. Let's try that again, hopefully snapping to the correct position this time. No, this is not the correct position at all. What do we have going on over here? That's very exciting. I'm going to detach this. And we'll try to attach just these. Why is that attaching offset? Only here. Okay. We'll detach this. And we'll put it back on like this. That should fix that problem. Cool. Now what we can do is we can reattach our SRBs. Oh boy, this is very exciting indeed. So I want to grab this guy, and we'll put those in right about here. Then I'm going to do another one right about here. I feel like that's only 2 SRB points. I'm not sure how this will go if we put one here and one here. Well, that's going to be off. About there. Okay. And then this would get attached right up here. And then right over here. And then, of course, right over here. Like that. Now, all of these we would ideally want to move down. No doubt about that. So how should we go about doing that? Well, I would like to do the move and rotate tool. So grab this and just move it down. Yeah. Something more akin to that. Same thing here. Just move it down. There we go. And then this guy. Move that right on down as well. Now then, the question is, what happens on decoupling? And all of these need to be merged together. 18. Hang on. Oh, these go here. Right. So this all gets brought down like so. I have no idea what the strut work is like. I don't know if these have fuel lines that are connecting. I don't think they do. So the fuel line would need to come in here. And here. I guess that's kind of fine. And here. Okay. I'm going to move this one. It should actually be coming in like over here or something. Okay, this is going horribly wrong. Whatever. I'm sure it's okay. As long as these fuel tanks get empty, that's what matters. So this would all get merged together like so. And then this would be a thrust weight of 1.76. Okay, so now let's do some struts here. So struts would go here. And I duplicate that and bring it down here. Like so. I don't know that that actually connected properly. No, it did. Okay, we're good there. So same thing here. And same thing here. There we go. And then struts up here. And here. And here. Okay. Now I'd like to have some struts connecting in over here. In theory, this is probably good enough, but it might wiggle around. I have no idea what that's going to look like. So there's that. I'm going to strut these together up here. That should be reasonably fine. And then strutting them inward here. And let's save this and see if it falls apart on the pad too. That should be very interesting. Do we fall apart on the pad? Hopefully we don't. That seems relatively stable. Emphasis on relatively. Okay. Let's see what happens here. We're going to skip the countdown. We're just going to have this lift off. Frame rate isn't going to be great, but we know that. This is one heck of a monstrosity we've created. No doubt about that. Okay, so we're going to need to have these SRBs burn out, right? We see that we've got these liquid-fueled engines here. That's all fine. The SRBs are what we're concerned about right now. So if we were to stage the SRBs at this moment, obviously bad things would happen, right? The real question here is, what happens when the SRBs stage? And how much delta V do we have once we get to orbit? The answer is a lot. You can see here our delta V calculations are going up, not down. So that's a thing. That's definitely a thing. Well, good news, it did not fall apart on the pad. So that's something, anyway. I have no idea what this SRB detachment is going to look like. What happens if we take this up to 4x? I mean, the frame rate is very not good. That's not shocking, though. I'm deeply, deeply unsurprised by that one. This engine appears to be losing fuel at a much higher rate than the others. So I think we have a fuel flow issue. What engine even is that? I have no idea. The frame rate is very low right now. We're waiting for these SRBs to detach, and we'll see what ends up happening with that. That is a side engine. I wonder why that would be losing fuel at a higher rate. Let's check in on our resource manager here. I'm sure we can find out the answer to that. Okay, yeah, the frame rate is very not great. I just wanted to make sure that all of these are drained, and they are. So that's good. SRBs are going to be detaching soon enough, and that will dramatically help us. No doubt about that. We are having some frame rate issues, and I'm wondering what will happen when these SRBs detach. I'm not going to preemptively detach them because they're going to fly up, and I don't want that. That is not a realistic detachment. But we're going to continue going on 4x speed here and see. I'm very concerned about this engine burning out much more quickly than these other engines. That isn't great. That indicates that we have a fuel line problem. So there's that. And this here, I'm wondering if that's just a readout issue. Because this is showing... No, this is definitely at half fuel. This is burning out twice as fast as the others. So that's going to give us a lot of turn when that engine burns out. No doubt about that. So we're going to have the SRBs detaching shortly. We are down to 10 tons of solid fuel remaining per SRB. Okay. I'm going to take this down to 1x, and I'm going to move us over into surface mode. We're just going to hop over to prograde. This thing is very heavy, and our SRBs are going to burn out shortly here. We're going to let ourselves settle at prograde. Okay, I expect problems here. Interesting. That was actually a pretty clean detachment, all things considered. Now, the real question at this point is, well, if we were actually going to orbit here, which we're not doing, if we were actually going to orbit here, we would be looking to be burning at the horizon right now. Well, we could definitely work on that. So let's put this on to keep control here and see how this turns. Not too bad, all things considered. We're going to need to get a little bit of roll in here, but that's fine. Okay. And we're just getting as much horizontal speed as we can right now. Trying to offset that roll. Okay. Now, the real question here is, what's wrong with our fuel flow? Right? Our fuel flow does clearly have a bit of an issue here, and we'll need to address that. Let's just park this horizontal for right now. Our apoapsis is pretty decent, and we don't have very much drag going on at this moment. So that seems fine. But one of these engines is about to lose fuel, and that is not great. That's for sure. We don't want it to lose fuel. Yeah, see, this one just flamed out. So that indicates that there is a problem with our fuel lines here. And I'm not sure exactly why. Because this is the only one actually connected. That's why. Okay. Well, we're going to have to revert that, and we are certainly going to do so. We're going to revert that back to the VAB, and we'll fix that fuel line issue. I am surprised at how clean that SRB detach was. That was really solid. I don't know how flaky that'll be, but we can just go straight up. We were so close to it anyway. Straight up is fine. So SRB straight up, and then we can angle over after that. But we definitely need to get the fuel line fixed. So let's move this over to 6x symmetry. And make sure that this fuel line is correct here. Yeah, we must have only been in 1x symmetry when we did this fuel line. Okay, so we're going to put that there, and then the other side needs to be connected in somewhere over here, just like that. Except this fuel line is flowing the wrong way now. So we're going to get rid of that, and we're going to redo the fuel line, and that'll be fine. So I think that's our design for our Moho lander reasonably done. We're definitely a monstrosity still, but this is a much more powerful monstrosity, so there is that. It's not perfect by any means, but it will do. So it is time to put a cut in here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And next episode, we are going to head over to Moho. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings. I'm going to try to remember to include some additional science. That would probably be useful. And a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamers, Shadow Wolf, Atala, Ali Lee, Dark Horse, Upper Cumberland Gamers, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, Soccerman12 UK, Kentogan, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.